Hey YouTube. So I'm here doing a video vlog that I wanted to do because I've been editing video vlogs. Like some of them I was just really ranting really hard, and it really wasn't anything except that I didn't have, that's why I was saying, oh, the shrink YouTube. I didn't have any shrink, what a shrink, excuse me. I didn't have a psychotherapist to go talk to. So I was using video vlogs just to rant and vent. You see, the thing is with women, whether they're diagnosed with a mental illness or not, we need to vent. We need to vent, and sometimes it's gonna sound like complete and utter nonsense. It's gonna sound like complete and utter baloney or craziness, or even whether they're crazy or not. The sanest women still need to vent. They need to vent. And this is why psychotherapy is such a popular industry, because there's not enough people who are resilient enough to let their friends or their family members, especially the women, vent. Men need it too. I will say that, yes, men need it too. But I mean, that's what happens, and so that, the women tend to, as a stereotype, tend to be dubbed like the crazy ones more than guys. Guys act crazy when they're being violent. Women act crazy when they're just on a tangent talking about whatever nonsense is coming out. um and that's how stereotypically it goes. But that's why psychotherapy is a popular industry. It's popular because not everybody is strong enough to just let somebody vent. And because when it's not just the venting, you want to be heard. You see, you don't need a comment. You don't even need someone to solve your problem. But you got to get it out, and you got to feel validated. You got to feel acknowledged that the person did hear the rambling, even if it makes sense or not. Whether it makes sense or not is not the point. You just want to feel like they heard you, and, you know, they don't have to solve anything. They don't have to do anything. But if they contradict you or gaslight you, or act like, there's no solution to your problem whatsoever from them or anyone, then that's going to make the situation worse, which is why people go to psychotherapists, because the psychotherapist is trained and knows not to do that to someone who's feeling in a crisis situation, regardless if it's a crisis or not. A friend and family member is putting their personality into it. I know because I do this too, and I've seen other people do it to me and make it worse for me. Um, you know, I'm a problem solver, and most of the people that I know that I would talk to are problem solvers. And so they want to say either, get over it, there's no solution, or I can't help you. And it's like, they don't even need to say that. As long as all they really have to say is, it's okay. Go ahead and vent. Go ahead. I'm here. I'm listening. Go ahead and vent. That's all they really have to say. And I mean, a psychotherapist will maybe ask questions like, well, what do you think you should do about it? They always put it back on you so that they're not being held accountable for trying to fix something that you should be fixing. Um, so anyway, I was talking about, like, there were three deaths. It said sometimes things happen in threes. Sometimes it just happens. There's just one death, but very, very rarely does it happen two or four. It usually does happen in threes that you get like bad news. And there were three deaths. First death happened was my Aunt Lola. At the beginning of this month, I found out that my Aunt Lola passed away. She was in her 80s, and she'll be very missed. She was a lovely lady. I was privileged to know her. She had four children. She was married twice, and I believe all of her four are still alive. Her daughter and her three sons are still alive. She had grandchildren, and she was in her 80s, and I think she died. From what I heard, she died peacefully. So that's good. She was beautiful, very beautiful when she was young. As she got older, she looked a lot like I thought she looked a lot like Betty White, and I'm gonna miss her very very much. Um, I'm gonna miss her very very much because I knew that the last time I saw her when she was still on around here and she was living in Manatee County, I think. I went to visit her. I think George met her, and she was always been so kind to me. She was very loving to me, actually. And I know her daughter must be devastated because I know how it was when I lost my mother. It's very rough, no matter how old you are. It's very rough to lose your mother. Um, so anyway, my condolences to Auntie Yolanda's children and grandchildren. I miss her too, and we know that she's happy in heaven now, not suffering from 80-year-old arthritis or 80-year-old grapes because it's not easy being in the 80-year-old category. Um, I'm 53, so I can definitely say that with confidence. It's 50. The 50s are way harder than the 40s, way harder, as far as physicality goes. I do not have the energy or the strength that I had, not even 5 years ago, and so I can only imagine how rough it is in the 80s. The other death that we found out about was very much a shocker. Um, I'm still crying about it, even though um, it's a complicated emotional response. Um, my stepdaughter, well, at least she was my stepdaughter when I was officially married, but I still considered her my stepdaughter. Samantha. Samantha passed away. She was only 29 years old. She passed away a month before her 30th birthday. She died peacefully in her sleep. Some are suggesting she may have had a heart attack due to complications with her thyroid illness. She just passed away in her sleep. Sammy was a beautiful woman. She never got married or had children, to my knowledge. She was working, she was volunteering, she had a lot of friends that she would go and hang out with. She had a car, she was living on her own, she was doing well. But God took her, or death took her, whatever you want to call it. And, you know, I believe she's also in heaven, like Auntie Yolanda. And I feel sort of sad for her because God took her before she ever got a chance to get married. Not that you have to get married, but I think she was I think she was originally the type of girl, the type of woman that wanted to get married. So I feel a little sorry for her that that didn't, that she didn't get to experience and enjoy that, at least for a little while. It's never guaranteed. Um, so I was very sad to hear about Yolanda, very sad to hear about Samantha, for my own selfish reasons, of course, because in a spiritual or Christian way of thinking about it, they're done with all the hard stuff that we have to deal with here in the so-called real world. They're done. You know, rest in peace. They got peace before we did, so uh, no more pain and no more crying. You know, now we cry for because we're selfish and we miss them. And I did. I did my share of crying. Believe me, I've been crying. I've been crying a lot because those two deaths were eye openers as far as, you know, just knowing that there's people that I love that I'm never going to see again, even though they're alive. There's people I love I'm never going to see again, even though they're alive. And there's people I love that I'm never going to see again, whether they are alive or whether they're dead, because they're just too far away, and I don't have the means to travel that far of a distance to go see them. And so it's one of the sad tragedies of life that you're going to love people that you just don't get to spend a lot of time with. This is the situation I have with with the people that are I'm closest to, actually, like George and Tate. I love them dearly, regardless of the fact that officially me and George are divorced. I still love him, and I hardly ever get to spend time with him. He works. He works Monday through Friday, definitely all the time, and then sometimes on Saturday. And the only time I really get to spend time with him is a little bit at night when he's exhausted and doesn't want to deal with me, and on Sundays when we go to church and go we're on the same bowling team. Besides that, I really don't see him, and it doesn't matter that we're friends or that we love each other. He I don't see him very often. And my son, I call him all the time. He gets so sick of me calling him, but it's the only way I can feel close to him because we don't spend time together. I mean, I get to see him once or twice a year. So I call him all the time, and I know it gets on his nerves, but it's the only way I can feel close to him. Um, the third death, I'm not really crying about the third death. I'm just crying in general because I'm feeling all the pain that people are experiencing from these three deaths. I'm an empath, and it's not just my own feelings that I'm feeling. Um, the third death was my cousin Tony's father, Tony Sr. Tony passed away uh, 2 years ago, the same year that my brother in law Jamie passed away. They both were young. Jamie was in his late 40s, and Tony was in his late 50s. And it was too soon, I thought, for both of them to go. But they passed away because they had uh, health problems. Um, and yeah, health problems. They're just health problems. So their lives were cut short. They didn't get to see their 60s, 70s, or 80s. Um, and they're missed. They're missed very much. But the Tony Senior, he did get to see his 80s. He got to see his children have children, his grandchildren. He got to have married twice. He had a very successful life as far as what I had heard from my cousins. Anyway, but he passed away, and I think that was just a natural, normal death based on old age. It was just his time, and I'm not crying because I didn't really know Tony Senior. I know his three boys, Bobby, Tony, and Frankie, but I didn't really know um, Tony Senior. I mean, I had only met him at family get-togethers, and it was very like acquaintance style, not very close to him. So I can't really cry for missing him because I never had the chance to know what I'm missing. But but I know there are Bobby and Frankie are feeling it, and I know probably Leah's feeling it, and I care about them, so that's got to be rough. Um, and that's all. I just really wanted to talk about the three deaths that occurred to the people that I care about, and to acknowledge that the people that I still care about are sort of going through it hard right at this time. Um, the Volaninos, the Normans, and the Pelletiers. My condolences to all three families. And I myself was in the hospital, not for a health situation as far as like a deadly situation, but because I was so depressed after hearing about Yolanda and then just thinking about my own life. I was sort of having like a midlife crisis, and I think I may have mentioned it to you either on this vlog or in a personal conversation where I got Baker acted. So I got Baker acted for speaking way too extreme in my depression, and you know you have to really be careful with what you say as far as suicide stuff because they can't play with that. Um, they will Baker act you if you say that you're going to hurt yourself or others because you're stressed out. You really can't talk like that. And it's sad because I'm a big advocate for freedom of speech, but in this particular case it's a safety issue, so I can't hate them for what they did, Baker acting me, even though I don't really like it, you know but I was in the hospital for about 2 weeks. They wanted to monitor me very closely. Then I ate like a pig and I gained 10 pounds. And when I got out, I lost the 10 pounds because I don't eat like a pig when I'm by myself. But the food was really good. And they put me on the wrong medication. And then I had to get off the wrong medication and get the right medication, which is Abilify, basically. That works for me. Like they had me on, I don't even know what the frick they had me on it. They had me on something terrible, Depakote. I that Depakote, it was like it was so awful. It was so awful on me, and I just felt like I couldn't move. I felt like I was sick and like it was paralyzing me. It was terrible. And as soon as I transferred to the Abilify, I started feeling much better, and I can talk now in a much calmer way most of the time. Although I'm still having panic attacks and I'm still crying unreasonably, but I don't think that Abilify can do everything for me. It's just that I can sort of balance it better now because the crying is stored up from a lifetime of not crying. And the crying is also a reaction to all of the pain that the people I love are going through because I am empathic. So, there's only so much Abilify can do. It's just a very hard time right now. Memorial Day is in May, at the end of the month. And this, let me tell you, 2 years ago when Jamie died on Memorial Day, that was the beginning of Memorial Day just being one of the most tragic of days because it really, like, I mean, 3 deaths in May for 2024. The Memorial Day could never be more profound, as if Jamie's death wasn't profound enough. So, to all those who are experiencing the loss of a loved one, I share my heartfelt condolences, and I hope that the good Lord will be there for us while we go through this difficult time of our loss, our emotional response to God taking one of our best. Have a have a good and peaceful day.